Hi Subhranshu, welcome to this podcast. We can begin by your introduction.
Sure. I am Shubranshu. I completed my engineering in 2016, after which I did my MBA with finance majors in 2018. So my first initial job was with ICICI Bank. I worked for around 10 months before, I always had, since my internship, I was working with a startup, and there I got introduced to product management. I somehow leaned to that field and wanted to work in product management. And so while after working for some time in ICICI Bank, I got offer from another startup. So I decided to jump ship. Now, so that was my first stint. I began as a associate product manager APM, and I worked for around and then in the first company I worked for around 2.5 years, and then I changed to another company known as Sugarbox Networks, which was again a subsidiary of G Entertainment. And there I worked for around 1.5 years as a product manager. And after that, I currently work as a senior product manager in Citrix. So overall, I have a little more than 4 years of experience in product management. My experience has mostly been in B2B SaaS product management, and so that's about me.
Okay, so Subhranshu, can you since you have changed let's say industries or companies, can you just give a broader idea of who a product manager is and what key matrices do they play with?
Okay, so since my experience has been with industries from all, yeah, like from unfunded startups to small series A funded startups to startups who have raised a huge amount of funds to currently a large enterprise. What I have gathered is that there is no fixed definition for product manager. For example, when I was in a startup, like I was responsible for doing a large number of things. I was focused from interacting with customers, creating whatever, creating detailed deliverables, like from actually doing customer interviews to refining those into forming ideas, working with the engineering to actually even do technical specs, creating technical specs document, even deciding solutions, to finally even creating collaterals that go out to customer. As I moved to bigger companies, the role got little bit very focused. Like focused as in right now I have a very specific set of tasks that I do rather than what I was doing maybe 2 3 years ago. So I cannot say that as a product manager that these are the things you have to follow or these are the metrics that you have to try. This depends from from company to company, industry to industry. But one thing that is very common is that as a product manager, you have to be you are responsible for driving the success of the product, and that any tasks that may come in that part that you have to own it. You have to have stakeholder engagement, you need to interact with different people who have a different set of responsibility completely. Like you might need to interact with finance team who don't have any idea understanding about technicals, or you need to understand about uh, marketing teams, or who marketing, you need to communicate technical details to marketing teams and all who might not understand the solution properly, but they need to be educated enough so that they can communicate your offering properly to the customers. So all of these are your responsibility. So if I just have to summarize, I'll just say that you, as a PM, you have the responsibility for end-to-end product, and you need to ensure that you are driving your product to success. And whatever task that may come is you have to own.
Okay, that helps me understand. Subhranshu, can you take us through your journey to becoming PM, your interview experiences broadly, if you can say, and what type of mindset, let's say designer versus marketing versus technical mindset, helps succeed, and how MBA helps when you are doing your job?
Sure. So, I said, so first I'll come to the point how MBA helps. Uh, Now, coming to the point, like I said, that being a PM, you require to interact with a host of different stakeholders, from marketing to engineering, even customers. You need to work with different products. And today you might be working in a fintech company, tomorrow you might be working in a cybersecurity company, day after tomorrow in some B2B marketing company. So you need to have that understanding of the product. You need to be able to understand that product. So I mean, you need to catch up the product. What is the customer expectations? What is you as a PM, you need to understand the matrix relevant for the particular product. So how MBA helps is that MBA gives you that holistic view that you have finance papers, you have marketing papers, and so when you interact with the customer, it's not like you're scratching starting from zero. You have something that you have some basic understanding of any field you go to. Now that is the first answer of how MBA helps. Then then of course there is a set of skills you develop during MBA, like how to create PPTs, how to maybe make presentations, or how to even write a proper report. So these are the kind of skills that are definitely useful in anything you do. Now, uh, when I started, of course, during my campus interviews, also there are a few companies that are looking for product manager. So initially, I did not get shortlisted because companies that came into campus, they were of course looking for someone with a technical background. And since I was a fresher, it was initially a bit difficult for me to get into the field. Now, having said that, having a technical background is definitely a huge plus. But it is not necessary. I mean, if you are someone who can really learn technology fast, or if you are just an technology enthusiast, that really helps. Now, coming to me, uh, back when I was in college, I actually tried creating my own startup. So, although it was a very short-lived thing, but it gave me understanding of a lot of nuances that were required to run a business. And that was probably my first introduction to how to build a product and how to build a product. And that was really very helpful to me. And then again, during my internship, I that was a more of a very structured PMBA wherein I learned a lot of the things, and from there my leadership started. Now coming to my interview experience. Uh, During my interview experience, first of all, I faced for example, uh, I was in a finance domain. From switching from finance domain into product management was a bit tough. Like I had to give some significant amount of interviews to do that. And now coming to that, the company that I finally got into, so there also how I got into that, the founder he is also an alum of XIMB and ex-alum of XIMB, which whom I had previous connects, and I had some experience working with him previously. So, since he had seen some of my works, at that point that proved to be quite an advantage to me. At that point, my exact qualification did not matter. He gave me some assignments on based on which I performed well. Based on that, selected. Uh, Now, coming to what are the questions you might expect as a PM? As a PM, you are expected to have a very clear-cut idea on how to design a particular feature, like how to design a particular product. When I'm talking about thing, how to solve a particular problem. So it is very important to develop that rational thinking, that how you approach a particular problem. For example, someone might ask you to design something. It's very important that instead of directly jumping into design and providing 10 suggestions, you first need to have that insight. Okay, what are the parameters? Why is someone asking this particular feature? What are the parameters I need to check before it? How do I measure the success of this product? Okay, for all of this, then you might have. So if you just look into any good YouTube channels, or there might be some books I might recommend which will give you a very
Please. Yeah.
good understanding. But the most important thing is developing that right mindset. That is developing that solution oriented mindset of how you approach, how you reach to a particular solution, and not the solution itself. That itself is something that is quite critical for developing that. And how you do that is, of course, analyze analyze a lot of problems, analyze things in an objective way, find out what is the source of the problem. Like it might be that you might face some problems in uh, for customers, talk to different stakeholders, read different sources. So that is something that will help you develop that right mindset. I think there is one very famous book that is Cracking PM Interview. I don't recall the author name exactly, but that is something that will help you, which has a lot of frameworks that will help you think, like circle framework for arriving at a particular solution. So these are the things you can uh, that can be helpful to you. And the next thing is develop a thinking of how to have that metrics oriented thinking. For example, if you're thinking of a feature, think, okay, what is this going to help me achieve? Whether it is going to help me acquire more customers, whether it is going to help me, like what I can just talk about a few of the key metrics, like whether it will be help me in acquiring customers, whether it will help me in engaging, increasing my engagements. Like what is the particular, I mean, how do I measure the output of this particular thing? So just develop. Anytime you are thinking of a solution, just have this kind of thinking. So that is really going to be helpful for any interviews or anything that you
Yeah.
might.
Okay. Uh, so Subhranju, can you tell me a little about customer research and some qualitative data? We had one subject called marketing research, but it was very basic and a basic level of research. But can you throw some light how it helps and what like?
Uh, so even at my field, a lot of the research we do are mostly subjective. Objective research is mostly carried out by marketing teams, wherein you have to understand customer behavior and all. So even at my level, most of the research you do are subjective research. Uh, when we talk about customer research, it is mostly trying to interview customers. So there again, I would like to recommend a great book, that is the Continuous Discovery Habits. Okay, so this is mostly focused around books, mostly focused around uh, how to gain insights from customer interviews. So like again, like you have your primary research and secondary research. Primary research is mostly focused on customer interview, and this might be and the objective of primary research here is to get to the point, get to the customer pain point. Okay, identify the exact customer pain point. I'll give explain it with an example. For example, uh, tomorrow, someone a customer, you might 10 different customers might come to you with something like you might find that for example you drive an your product manager for the e-commerce platform. Customers might come to you with the problem that they are not able to find a good product.
Mm.
Now, from a point of customer, it's very simple that customers might tell you that they will not be able to find a good product. But as a product manager, you need to have that insight that how can you dive further. That the particular customer is not able to find a good product, whether because he's not able to search for the particular product, or it might be that when he's searching, there are multiple results in which he is not able to select for a particular product, or is that the product does not even exist? Is it something technical, or it is like something like issue with discoverability itself? So these are the kind of problems you need to derive out of customer interviews.
Mm.
I mean, customer will say a problem, but how you transport, customer will say that problem, how you transfer it into a problem statement, that is something you have to, that is an output of customer interview. Now coming to quantitative methods. Uh, Quantitative methods is, like I would say, from a perspective of customer research, you need to continuously monitor some metrics, but I will not be the right person to give you details on research, how research and everything is carried out. But metrics that you need to monitor, I can say that, for example, you can monitor some metrics such as daily active users for a product, or in my case, like the product I'm monitoring, I need to continuously monitor user engagement, like total numbers of product were active on the platform, total the data consumption that is flows through my platform. So all of these, and I need to sometimes compare them with my competitor. So what is the kind of data that my competitor have? So most of the time, since it is B2B product and wherein most of the parameters are hidden, so we're not able to compare. These are the kind of metrics you need to compare.
Okay, Subhranshu, I had one question in my mind. Let's say you, as a senior product manager, are pretty sure about a feature addition which will make your product, let's say, competitive or successful. And but the business side is saying that maybe profitability roadmap down the uh, may not be that much impactful as per the investment, let's say. And there is a small conflict situation. So, what will you do to convince them, or how do you approach this?
So this is first of all like when I my initial point to you was like when thinking about a feature, think about how it is going to drive success. So you need to have the data. First of all, you need to have data to help them convince. Without data, these kind of problems cannot be handled.
Right.
So first of all, you need to have okay, if you are convinced that this is something that is going to help the business better than what they are saying, you need to have the data to back it up. For example, you need to have okay, this particular feature that I'm going to do is going to help this matrix, which is further going to increase.
Mm. Right.
That is how you have to present them and convince them. Or if they have that particular, so being a PM, you have to be very objective. So sometimes what you are convinced as a PM does not necessarily mean what is best for the business. So your decision always has to be rational and based on logic and data. So you have to be data driven. So if the business data is able to convince you, okay, that the investment in this is not worthwhile, And then I think the best way is to drop that. But in case you are convinced and you have the data to back it up, then you definitely need to go and try and convince them. And it has to be based on data. That it has to be your logic and your way has to be so clear that the business team is of course convinced. And yeah, and as a PM, see, this is one of the very challenging roles as a PM. As a PM, you will be getting requirements from multiple sources, like sometimes directly from customer, from sales team. You yourself will be getting doing competitor analysis and forming your own on your own. And most of the time, you feel that it is very difficult to be objective in a situation wherein you feel that okay, sometimes you give some particular feature which you feel will add more impact than some others. For example, I remember while uh, during my initial stint, what had happened, I saw a particular feature in some customer product that I believe to be very useful. If you can bring that, it would be very useful and we can acquire more customers. Okay, but when I took that particular to our CEO, he in fact convinced me, okay, that amount of time you spend on building this versus the amount of time you spending in building some other thing. The ROI on that is going to be it's going to be okay. So even so that was my first experience to like objective feature prioritization. So you have to be objective.
Okay, okay, got it. So Subhranshu, can you describe your product in any way, how it serves the market, users, product profiling methods, how you select a successful, how you define success for your product, some, let's say it's competitors and business model it follows. Can you like scroll through that?
Okay. So product success has to be first of all, product success has to be defined by business. Okay. Uh, I mean, for example, right today I might build up a product in which revenue might not be my priority. My first priority might be just acquiring a lot of customers, and in the next phase, uh,
Mm.
I have to go for revenue. So first of all, business strategy of the organization determines what the product success metrics for the product is. Now coming to that, once you are handed out, I'll just explain it with a simple example. Like for example, there might be, let's take the example of a platform which delivers food or something. It might be now that for that particular platform, the total top line metrics might be that the uh, company might want to increase its revenue to some certain level. Now, if we think about revenue, the revenue again breaks down into number of orders into average orders per revenue.
Right.
Now, if you think about it, now as a PM, you have to think, okay, now if I need to increase the revenue, what should I focus on? Should I focus on average order per value or should I focus on increasing the number of orders? Now it might be that for increasing the numbers, uh, you might have to develop a feature in which you maybe try to ping some customers like, okay, these are the order this. I mean, try to just influence some customer in some way, or you might try to launch discounts, or you might have some particular there will be numerous ways to do that. Or if you want to increase average revenue for a order, how do you do that? Do you add some additional platform fees? Do you increase? Do you enhance rig the platform in such a way that the customer is able to see the or items with the highest rate? So how do you do that? Again, that depends upon you. Like I said, so sorry, can you just please repeat the question again?
Yeah, can you describe your product in any way, how it serves the market, end users, product profiling methods, how you define a success, and some rivals and
You want metrics, right? Okay, fine. So about my product, first I'll just come to you about my product. So over the years, I have worked with a lot of products. Uh, Maybe 5 or 6 different products I've worked with, and right from internal tools to external tools. But one of the things that I can say in confidence is that I have worked with B2B SaaS products. Mostly my experience has entirely been with B2B SaaS products. The product I'm currently working with is uh, it's Citrix, like Citrix is the market leader in Dash solution, their desktop as a service. So Citrix has one more offering, it is secure private access. I am currently managing, I work as a product manager for secure private access. What secure private access is does, it provides a way of for enterprise, remote users of an enterprise to securely access the resources hosted in cloud.
authentication, something like that.
Not authentication specifically. It's authentication is a small part of it. It is basically ensuring that any user who access an application has to be completely verified. That is,
Okay, okay.
the user has to come from some specified device, and the device has to be
Registered.
the device has to be free of malware, and the device has to be compliant with the policies that the organization has set for it.
Right.
And this is a very rudimentary and very
Hmm.
basic introduction of the product, but that's it. That before the user accesses an application, he has to be absolutely sure that the user is genuine, the user has access to the application, and only then, if everything is verified about it, they will be able to access the application.
So, Subhranshu, you told me something earlier that one of the key matrices can be how frequently, let's say, the user is accessing our product or what time they are spending. But in a B2B situation where the product is already sold, like already the contract has been made, and in a B2B level, the company client has already purchased it, then why do we need that data? Like, how does that help us?
Okay. First of all, uh, when you are selling a particular product to a customer, it is not like the engagement stop there. The
Yeah.
customer need to, it might be a subscription which they might have been bought it for a few times, they need to buy it again. And as a PM, your role is not just to sell it to a customer, right? Your job is to ensure that the customer, why the customer is purchasing the product for, that your job is to ensure that the customer is successful,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Now,
Got it.
that is another thing. Now, you need to track metrics because many of the time it is not only about selling the product. There are other metrics, like for example, you might need to track some metrics like why some customer active users are falling. That might be an pre-indicative that this particular customer is not interested in reviewing your product. So that you might
Oh,
want to take
got it.
preemptive and maybe try to retain the customers. These kinds of things, and sometimes maybe from some customer logs or something, you might identify uh, that there might be an imminent that your server might crash because of some particular reason or something like your infrastructure issues, or you might be identify that this customer is going to face some issue in future due to this. So this is why monitoring needs to be continuous, whether it does not matter whether
Right, right, right.
so taken the purchase product or not.
Got it, got it. So, Subhranshu, like coming to your day at work, can you broadly describe a day at your work and how your role changes from PM to senior product manager, how your roles and responsibilities shifted?
So as you move up the ladder, your focus on execution becomes less and focus on planning becomes more. Okay, like for example, when I was APM, my role was mostly towards creating marketing collaterals, writing PRDs, and so even PRDs for me were like there was someone who was deciding how the product should be and and then my role was just writing it, communicating with the yeah, like they were. I was very less involved as a APM. My role in prioritization was less. It was more in like once the feature has been prioritized, it was mostly just designing the user flow for the particular feature, or sometimes designing marketing collaterals or these of kind. So it was mostly towards executing. But as I moved up the way, like when I became a PM, the role kind of changed into more of I was more involved in the planning process. Like it was not just about deciding how a feature should work, but also about deciding which features to build and which to build. Now, I won't say that between PM and SPM there has been much of change in my role. Of course, there has been a little more. My role is a little more focused now because earlier I used to do uh, some other tasks with respect to this. Now I'm mostly focused on planning and prioritization. Like earlier, if I talk about like when I was working as an APM, my role was mostly focused on like okay, in this particular space, these features has to be delivered. So how do you create the PRD for that, and maybe interacting with engineering team, managing the sprint and everything. As I moved to a PM role, it became more like okay, it became like a quarterly planning. Okay, these are the organizational objectives that need to be achieved. So for that, this is how you need to proceed. Something now as an APM, it is more towards once organization hit the objective. Okay, for example, this year we have to target increasing in numbers. Now, what can you do? Which all are the feature matters that you can influence to do this? Like I gave you an example of revenue. That's the revenue example. Like for example, let's say if I was at an APM level, now someone would have gave me the uh, directly gave me okay, we are doing this particular thing to we are doing this particular thing to increase revenue. Think I mean work on it. How do we want to implement this particular feature? Like we are to give an example, we are implementing this promotional strategy to increasing number of orders. Now, as a product manager, I would have been okay, I someone would have given me that, okay, we might need to, okay, we are going to increase the number of orders. So these are the 10 things we might take, and out of these 10 things, this makes more sense. So this is something we are going to build. Now, at an from a SPM perspective, also it remains more or less the same in terms of prioritizing and all. But if you go higher, sometimes you might be the someone who needs to decide, okay, how do we exactly take this particular metric and break it down, and how do we exactly define that, okay, this is the particular uh, metrics that we are targeting for the year, and why you need to convince that, and that is it just becomes, as you grow up in a role, it becomes more and more towards strategy and less towards execution.
Okay, okay. So about your role and responsibility, I get a broad idea, and I think pretty qualitative data. So Subhranshu, like for anyone who is watching this, would you recommend someone who wants to get into PM space to join an ascent level startup?
Once again, see, I will definitely recommend joining in a small startup very much, because the amount of learning you get in a small startup, or when you join a startup with, let's say, a 10 or 15 member team, is quite. But then again, be very careful of the mentors you are getting. Uh, just giving some example, I have actually interviewed some startups that I have rejected, because I found that because I realized that the kind of mentoring I would get there would not really be worth it. I actually have rejected job offer from companies, because I just felt that it would not add any value to me. So first of all, have a very clear mindset. Okay, if you're joining some startup, what is that you want to get out of it?
Right.
Whether it is in terms of learning, whether it is be it in terms of monetary value or whatever, or just be it a certificate, just be it an experience gained certificate, and you would learn something from yourself. So first, be very clear in what exactly you want to gain from this particular experience, and then join. And like I said, role of mentor while you are starting your career is very important. So be very selective in that.
Okay. And coming to the mindset, let's say there is a marketing mind and a technical mind. Who thrives in this space? You must have seen, like in your experience, or
See, once again, it is about being adaptable. You don't need to be a marketing genius, or you don't need to be an technical wizard to thrive in this space. Uh, you need to be someone who can talk with marketing in their lingo, as well as come back to engineering and discuss it with them similarly. Think of it in such a way: engineering is going to give you things, description about a product, and you are have to communicate it to marketing in such a way that marketing can go and pitch it to the customers. Okay, this product is going to solve this is the problem. Okay,
right,
for example, engineering might give you a data. Okay, this thing can segment your customers in this way, or this thing, if you have a customer list, this can group your customers in this way. You need to go to marketing and tell them, okay, this can help you. You need to go and communicate it to marketing, that this can help you differentiate between your customer, like who are your high spenders and who are your low spenders customers, so that you can target your campaigns effectively or something. This is how you have to go to marketing and communicate it. So that is your understanding. So there is no particular, you cannot say that key. Of course, then again it depends on the role and the product you are working on. If it is a very technical product, then you need to definitely need to have a very good understanding of technologies and all. But after the basic points, it comes down to how you adapt to the particular role. That's
right. Okay, so finally, one more question. What will be your 2 cents or your advice for aspiring PMs who are watching this video?
okay. First of all, have a very broad mind. Like I said, PM is a very versatile. Product management is a very versatile space. You have to work with a lot of stakeholders. So be ready to put yourselves in their shoes. Uh, Technology is something that is going to be. So take your time, learn as much as possible. There is no basic thing to begin in, but I will definitely recommend just be familiar with the fundamentals of how internet works, the web technologies, of what is the difference between a client and a yeah, how the basic networking, and if possible, just learn some. If possible, just learn a code programming and try to build something on your own. That is going to be very helpful when you actually work. Next thing is read a lot. There are a lot of good product management. Just go and type the top 10 books to read for product managers. You are going to get a lot of good books, which will help you develop that product mindset, which I initially did, the strategizing, how you think about that particular problem. Then the last point is uh, be very open to change. Like, be very open that your opinions are going to be changed, and be very objective about how you think about situations. Uh, try to base your decisions based on data. This is something you are going to have to learn, and I don't believe even I am uh, very good at it at my current stage. Even I am exceptional or very maybe, but I have somehow feel that I am better than what I used to be some year. So this is it. And the more you read, the more you learn, and learn from others. Like reach out to other mentors and try creating something. Like be it very simple. Be it something like try anytime you try to see a problem, uh,
Mm.
try to think of a solution for that. So
Right, right,
that is going to how you develop a product mindset. The initial solution might be very shitty, but then as you grow and when I'm talking about solution, it's not a software solution. Try to think about it. Okay, how can I solve this particular problem? It might not even. It might just be an Excel sheet and something. But yeah, that's it.
right,
That's how you develop just by thinking about solutions.
right. So yeah, Shubranshu, I covered all my questions, and I think I got a pretty good idea about it. And thanks a lot for your time. And I think this will help everyone. Yeah.